Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 7, Book 65, number 297. Narrated by Qatada. We were in the company of Anas, whose baker was with him. Anas said, "The Prophet did not eat thin bread, or a roasted sheep till he met Allah, died." Volume 7, Book 65, number 298. Narrated by Anas. To the best of my knowledge, the Prophet did not take his meals in a big tray at all, nor did he ever eat well-baked thin bread, nor did he ever eat at a dining table. Volume 7, Book 65, number 299. Narrated by Anas. The Prophet halted to consummate his marriage with Sophia. I invited the Muslims to his wedding banquet. He ordered that leather dining sheets be spread. Then dates, dried yogurt and butter were put on those sheets. Anas added, "The Prophet consummated his marriage with Sophia during a journey, whereupon hais, sweet dish, was served on a leather dining sheet." Volume 7, Book 65, number 300. Narrated by Wahb bin Kaysan. The people of Sham taunted Abdullah bin Azed Zubair by calling him the son of Dartin Natarkan, the woman who has 2 waist belts. His mother, Asma, said to him, "O my son, they taunt you with Natarkan. Do you know what the Natarkan were? That was my waist belt which I divided in 2 parts. I tied the water skin of Allah's apostle with one part, and with the other part one tied his food container." Volume 7, Book 65, number 301. Narrated by Ibn Abbas that his aunt, Hafid bint al-Harith bin Hazan, presented to the Prophet butter, dried yogurt and mastigers. The Prophet invited the people to those mastigers and they were eaten on his dining sheet, but the Prophet did not eat of it, as if he disliked it. Nevertheless, if it was unlawful to eat that, the people would not have eaten it on the dining sheet of the Prophet, nor would he have ordered that they be eaten. Volume 7, Book 65, number 302. Narrated by Suwaid bin Nu'man that while they were with the Prophet at As-Saba, which was at a distance of 1 day's journey from Khaybar, the prayer became due, and the Prophet asked the people for food, but there was nothing with the people except sawik. He ate of it and we ate along with him, and then he asked for water and rinsed his mouth with it, and then offered the Maghrib prayer, and we too offered the prayer, but the Prophet did not perform ablution again after eating the sawik. Volume 7, Book 65, number 303. Narrated by Khalid bin al-Walid that he went with Allah's apostle to the house of Maimuna, who was his and Ibn Abbas' aunt. He found with her a roasted mastiga which her sister Hafida bint al-Harith had brought from Najd. Maimuna presented the mastiga before Allah's apostle, who rarely started eating any unfamiliar food before it was described and named for him. But that time, Allah's apostle stretched his hand towards the meat of the mastiga, whereupon a lady from among those who were present said, "You should inform Allah's apostle of what you have presented to him." O Allah's apostle, it is the meat of a mastiga. On learning that, Allah's apostle withdrew his hand from the meat of the mastiga. Khalid bin al-Walid said, "O Allah's apostle, is this unlawful to eat?" Allah's apostle replied, "No, but it is not found in the land of my people, so I do not like it." Khalid said, "Then I pulled the mastiga, meat, towards me and ate it while Allah's Apostle was looking at me." Volume 7, Book 65, number 304. Narrated by Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle said, "The food for 2 persons is sufficient for 3, and the food of 3 persons is sufficient for 4 persons." Volume 7, Book 65, number 305. Narrated by Nafi, Ibn Umar never used to take his meal unless a poor man was called to eat with him. One day I brought a poor man to eat with him. The man ate too much, whereupon Ibn Umar said, "O Nafi, don't let this man enter my house, for I heard the Prophet saying, a believer eats in one intestine, is satisfied with a little food, and a kafir, unbeliever, eats in 7 intestines, eats much food." Volume 7, Book 65, number 306. Narrated by Ibn Umar, Allah's Apostle said, "A believer eats in one intestine, is satisfied with a little food, and a kafir, unbeliever, or a hypocrite eats in 7 intestines, eats too much." Volume 7, Book 65, number 307. Narrated by Amra Abu Naik was avaricious eater. Ibn Umar said to him, Allah's Apostle said, "A kafir, unbeliever, eats in 7 intestines, eats much." On that Abu Naik said, "But I believe in Allah and His Apostle." Volume 7, Book 65, number 308. Narrated by Abu Hurairah, Allah's Apostle said, "A Muslim eats in one intestine, i.e. he is satisfied with a little food, while a kafir, unbeliever, eats in 7 intestines, eats much." Volume 7, Book 65, number 309. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. A man used to eat much, but when he embraced Islam, he started eating less. That was mentioned to the Prophet, who then said, "A believer eats in one intestine, is satisfied with a little food, and a kafir eats in 7 intestines, eats much." Volume 7, Book 65, number 310. Narrated by Abu Juhayfa, Allah's Apostle said, "I do not take my meals while leaning against something." Volume 7, Book 65, number 311. Narrated by Abu Juhayfa, "While I was with the Prophet, he said to a man who was with him, I do not take my meals while leaning." Volume 7, Book 65, number 312. Narrated by Khalid bin al-Walid, a roasted mastiga was brought to the Prophet, who stretched his hand towards it to eat it. But it was said to him, "It is a mastiga." So he withdrew his hand. Khalid asked, "Is it unlawful to eat?" The Prophet said, "No, but it is not found in the land of my people, and that is why I do not like eating it." So Khalid started eating it, while Allah's Apostle was looking at him. An-Nada said, "Al-Khazira is prepared from bran, while Al-Harira is prepared from milk." Volume 7, Book 65, number 313. Narrated by Urban bin Malik, who attended the Badr battle and was from the Ansar, that he came to the Prophet and said, "O Allah's Apostle, I have lost my eyesight and I lead my people in the prayer, as an imam. When it rains, the valley which is between me and my people, flows with water, and then I cannot go to their mosque to lead them in the prayer. O Allah's Apostle, I wish that you could come and pray in my house so that I may take it as a praying place." The Prophet said, "Allah willing, I will do that." The next morning, soon after the sun had risen, Allah's Apostle came with Abu Bakr. The Prophet asked for the permission to enter, and I admitted him. The Prophet had not sat till he had entered the house and said to me, "Where do you like me to pray in your house?" I pointed at a place in my house, whereupon he stood and said, "Allahu Akbar." We lined behind him and he prayed 2 rakat and finished it with taslim. We then requested him to stay for a special meal of kazira which we had prepared. A large number of men from the adjoining area gathered in the house. One of them said, "Where is Malik bin Ad-Dukshan?" Another man said, "He is a hypocrite and does not love Allah and His Apostle." The Prophet said, "Do not say so. Do you not think that he has said, 'None has the right to be worshipped but Allah, seeking Allah's pleasure'?" The man said, "Allah and His Apostle know better, but we have always seen him mixing with hypocrites and giving them advice." The Prophet said, "Allah has forbidden the hell fire for those who testify that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, seeking Allah's pleasure."
حي